Hello, my name is Boho Bonnie, and this is a lifestyle vlog for socially woke plant parents. You like that? Sounds pretty good, right? Welcome to my channel. It's been a while since I've created actually any plant-related content, which is kind of how this whole channel got started. And so let's go back to the basics. A while back, I created a kind of top 20 Amazon plant-related things that you needed to buy, blah, 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 blah. I kind of broke the Amazon affiliate rules because I didn't know about them at that time. It's actually been one of my more popular videos. And so I really needed to take that video down because I listed pricing in that, which I guess you're not supposed to do. And so I need to put a new one up. So that was what we're going to talk about today. I've limited it actually down to 12 items this time. So a dozen Amazon purchases that you need to make if you want your plants to be lush and thriving and as beautiful as the plants that you see behind me. Some of these are going to surprise you. Some of these are probably, obvious, but I've included some good tips, and so hopefully you'll get a little bit out of each of these. Make sure you stick around until the end because I think the one at the very end, maybe the two at the very end, are going to be a shocker to you. Let's go ahead and get started. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, hit that little subscribe button down below. You can also support me by giving it a big thumbs up. And if you like any of the things that you see in this video, I've linked them all down below. Go check them out. These are all things that I have personally tried out myself. And so I am not going to recommend anything that I have not personally tested myself. I just went through all of my Amazon purchase history for the last 3 years. So we've culled through, we've picked the best ones, and we are going to give you some tips that are going to help you have much more beautiful and healthy plants going into summer of 2022. Let's go ahead and get started. So the first one on our list, probably no surprise, is a humidifier. You need a good humidifier. And if you've got plants in multiple rooms throughout your house, you're gonna need a humidifier in each room more than likely. Now, a lot of plants can acclimate to whatever you put them in. But if you are trying to get the lushest, most beautiful, biggest plants that you can, and they are tropical plants, philodendrons, monsteras, all those things that are the trendy things to grow, right? You're gonna need humidity. And we want that humidity to be anywhere between like the 50 to 65%. That's a really good range. You don't wanna go much higher than that, and I'm gonna explain that a little bit later in the video as to why. So the most important things to keep in mind, make sure it's a top fill humidifier so that you are actually bringing water to it and pouring it in. You're not taking apart the humidifier and taking it to the sink. Nobody wants to do that. Warm or cool mist, I don't really care. I just keep to the cool mist anyways. The Elect Homes is kind of the golden brand, right, that everybody wants. I'm not a crazy fan of mine, honestly. I tend to like my Teotronics brand better. But I would say the biggest thing is to buy the largest capacity humidifier that you can. So, the bigger the tank is, the less you're going to have to fill it up. And then get it on a automatic setting so that it kicks off once it hits your desired humidity, whether it be 55, 60%, whatever it is. Okay, now that you've got humidity going in the room, you need to be able to track that humidity. Make sure it's doing what you want it to, as well as temperature. Especially in the winter. We just came out of winter. We're getting ready to move into the warmer months. We need to make sure that we are notified if our temperature falls below a certain amount or above a certain amount. And we can even set it up to where it notifies us if humidity drops below a certain level or climbs above a certain level. So we can set those ranges up. And we do that with the Govee Bluetooth digital hygrometer and thermometer. Fancy talk. This is what it looks like. This is my second one. I did leave the one I bought a couple years ago outside, so my fault, not Govee's. These are excellent devices. It comes in along with a app that you download on your phone, and so you can set up all the parameters there, and then you can set it up to where you're notified if it falls below, above, blah, 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 the temperature or humidity that you want. I also recommend this really cheap bulk pack of just really basic. They tell the temperature and the humidity. That's it. For my non kind of main plant rooms, this is my main plant room, but in all the other rooms in my house, I just have these little ones, just so, you know, if I'm kind of walking by, I can take a look at it. But it's not something that, you know, necessarily needs to notify me in every single room within my house. Now, I've gone through a lot of grow lights, and there are, you know, really good grow lights that you can spend hundreds of dollars on. I've got those. There are also grow lights that are sufficient for what we're doing here, right? I really like this 3-plant kind of telescoping stand. I'm going to link it down below. This is one of my favorite grow lights that I have purchased because I can extend and bend these lights to go wherever I need. So it covers a large amount of space in a relatively small form factor. Okay, so the next one on our list, especially if you are growing philodendrons, pothos, anything like that, that needs to grip onto something, you're going to need some moss poles. Now you can create these at home. I've done that myself with sphagnum moss and basically some PVC and some of this kind of PVC plastic netting kind of this stuff that you can buy at Home Depot. That being said, it is a project, and so if you do end up going that route, make sure you make a whole bunch of them because you're not going to want to do that all the time, right? I tend to take the easy way out and go to Amazon, and similar to what I do with humidifiers, I tend to type in what I'm looking for. I'll hit the little prime button so that I'm limited to those, and then I sort them in order of cheapest to most expensive, and I may put another couple filters on there, making sure I'm getting, you know, decent review ratings and everything. But that will try and filter me down so I can kind of see what's on sale and what are the cheaper options, because you'll see so many of these. They are the exact same product. There is zero difference between them. They're just marketed a little differently, and actually the differences in prices can be quite astounding. So doing a little homework up front can save you quite a bit of money, especially since moss poles, for most of us, we're going to need quite a bit of those. That's something we're going to be continuously buying as our plants continue to grow vertically. Another great option that I love for our plants that like to kind of just vine and grow all over the place are these little plastic vining clips that they just stick onto the wall. And so if you can see my micans over here, before it had actually gotten all the way up to the top of that picture, I have the little clippies actually holding it in place and kind of teasing it up the wall. I actually lost the entire bag, which sucks because now I have another plant that I'm wanting to do something similar to, and so I'm adding these to my cart and going to buy them all over again. All right, so when I first started with the plant addiction, I would buy all the pots, and I absolutely hated spending money on the trays or the saucers. Like, it just seemed like a waste of money, and a lot of times they cost just as much as the planter, which is stupid, right? And so when I found these cheap plastic drip trays that sell for like $1 or $2 a piece at the big box stores, I was thrilled. I've bought these a couple times. These are, you know, amazing, and they do what they're supposed to do, which is keep your floor from being covered in water, right? And so get these, make sure they are under every single plant, because one thing I'll tell you is it's fine to have water drip onto, you know, a tile floor like I have here, but what you don't want is you do not want water dripping through your plant onto furniture, especially if it's, you know, wood that you don't want to warp, but even more so if it is cheap like MDF particle board, because that can release toxic fumes as it off gases. And so we do not want water coming in and then molding that and it releasing more and more toxic fumes. Make sure you're catching the water from your plants in drip trays. All right, this one's one of my absolute favorites because this is my favorite fertilizer. I love Liquidirt. I am such an evangelist. I moved to this about a year ago, to Liquidirt, and this package, I'm actually going to find it. Okay. Now, I know you can't feel this, right? But I bought this a year ago, y'all, and I have made up 1 gallon of it. This is dusty. That's not what I was going to say. This is super duper 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 concentrated, okay? So I know this doesn't look like much, and I know that it's not the cheapest stuff in the world, but I've been using this every 2 weeks for a year, and you can't even tell there's any missing, okay? It's a little bit difficult on the instructions because you basically have to dilute it into a gallon jug, and then I just pour like 1/3 of a cup of that diluted mix into a gallon of water every time I water my plants. And so it's like a double dilution process. But once you get that through your head, I'm just telling you, this is amazing. My plants are so happy since starting this regimen. And now that we're in spring again, I'm going to start, kind of up on the every 1 week bandwagon again. And I just know that they're going to love it. And so if you are still using fish fertilizer, if you're still using, whatever it is, I used to use Nutricoat. I've used a lot of different fertilizers, y'all. I do not like the smell of fish poop. I don't know who does. This does not have any smell. And another thing that I really loved about this is there's nothing in here that's going to burn your plants if you accidentally put too much on them. That's a huge deal, right? We don't want to be burning our plants because we maybe miscalculated or used a little bit too much. So that gives me a lot of comfort. And this is all just natural organic stuff, really good stuff, and it doesn't smell. So definitely pick up some Liquidirt. Another nutrient that I highly recommend that I see results from every single time I use it, which is not often, but every now and then I will give my plants a little extra calcium magnesium, so CalMag if you haven't heard of it. I really love this General Hydroponics brand. I've tried a couple different brands in the past. This one's where it's at. And this one, y'all, it's like a bottle like this big. Again, I didn't prepare, I don't have it next to me, but it takes like 2 milliliters. So literally like 2 droppers in your gallon of water. And you wouldn't want to do this every watering. This is maybe like a once a month, once every month and a half or so. It's not super often, but literally like after I've used CalMag, about 2 weeks later, insane growth. It's like a pop of growth. So you can tell, I can kind of tell when my plants start to need it, and I'm actually probably about to give it to them now. But if you haven't already started utilizing CalMag in your watering routine, definitely check it out, give it a try. It's so worth it. And again, this bottle is going to last years or until it expires. So let's talk about pests. The arch nemesis, right? I know we all have our different pest problems. Mine, I've only had to really deal with spider mites, and so they are my arch nemesis, and every now and then they pop up. And just let me say, I know this is not a pest video, but people are so like sensitive about spider mites and pests and blah blah blah, and I can't speak for all of them because like I said, spider mites, but I've never found spider mites to be that hard to get rid of unless you just literally ignore the problem for months. It is not a death sentence for your plants, so get in front of it. There's plenty of research, and if there's enough demand, I will definitely make a video on what I do to eradicate my spider mites issues when they do rear their ugly heads. But one thing I really do love that you can, easily and quickly and affordably buy off Amazon is a magnifying light with a magnifying glass, with a built-in light. And so this allows you to really get in close and see what you're not able to see with your naked eye. And this is something that you should be doing on a regular basis as you water, just kind of keeping an eye on them, so that way the first sign of any kind of pest problem, you can get in front of it right then, because the longer you wait, the harder they're going to be to eradicate. All right, so we're getting towards the end of our list, and these last 2 may surprise you a little bit. Number 11, cinnamon. I actually use cinnamon as a soil amendment, and so when I'm making my own soil, I add Ceylon cinnamon, which is a certain type of cinnamon, and it is a natural antifungal. And so that way, if my plants are a little bit over watered and they're retaining water a little bit too long, or maybe it's a little bit too humid in my room, then the cinnamon counteracts the mold that will inevitably grow on the topsoil, which is a natural attractant for pests. Okay, and so the cinnamon helps control the pests because it controls the mold that they would then feed on. And so make sure you get some cinnamon. Plus, I mean, this stuff makes your soil smell so good. So I literally look forward to the days that I get to repot plants because I get to smell that yummy smell and I get to dig my hands in the soil. And I'll go ahead and throw up my homemade soil recipe on the screen as well, so that you can make your own soil at home too, which will make your any kind of aeroids especially happy. Now, the very last item on my list I know is going to come as a surprise to a lot of you. We have heard our entire lives, and I think I just read an article last week, that having plants around us is great for our indoor air quality, right? That's what we've heard. That's the science, right? Well, I have got to tell you about a little bit of a bad experience that I've had that may kind of prove to the contrary, at least, given my situation in my particular environment right here. So for those of you who aren't familiar, I work in this office, which is an add-on of our house. Basically, there's a brick wall right here to my left that is the exterior wall of our house, and then all of this is framed out, insulated, built in, right? This is where I house all my plants. So there's about 75 plants in here right now with me. We've got a humidifier keeping it around the 60% humidity pretty much consistently. And one day in February of 2020, gosh, I can't believe it's been that long. I woke up with a headache, and it was a pounding headache. And what I didn't realize that day was that every single morning since then, I would also wake up with a headache. And so basically, just all of a sudden started getting recurring, really bad headaches. And so I was trying to investigate all these things that it could possibly be. And I'm still honestly not 100% sure what the driving cause is, because I'm still having these really bad headaches. In the course of trying to figure things out, I finally decided to have an actual company come out and test the quality of my air to see if maybe it was a mold issue. So they came out, they tested the inside of our house, and then I paid them an extra fee to have them test this room as well, since this is where I spend a majority of my day, right? They found exorbitant amounts of carbon dioxide, which is strange, right? Because all of the plants are supposed to set off oxygen that offsets carbon dioxide. So it didn't make a lot of sense. What they also found were high amounts of mold. So Penicillium and Aspergillus mold, to be exact. Basically, the advice on their readout was that this room should be unoccupied. There should be nobody in here. And here I am, still in here. I tried to make sure that I've got airflow going now. That's a big thing. But the only thing that's made me comfortable being in here is having a indoor air quality monitor. And had I even known that this was a thing prior to paying literally $600 to have them come out and test, I probably would have bought this, right? And so this, y'all, get one. This is not expensive. They are not, I'm gonna tell you right now, they're not the most accurate thing in the world, but they can tell you if things are elevated beyond a point where it's safe to be in the room. And this all kind of goes back to that humidity issue. We do not want that humidity getting too high, because then it creates mold and it creates fungus, and those create CO2 in the atmosphere. And so I honestly believe that my humidity got to a point where it was so high that it was creating these things that were offsetting, or offshooting the CO2. And because I didn't have proper air circulation in the room, everything was just kind of stagnant, you know. Even though I've kind of fixed that issue, still having the headache. So I don't think that was the issue, but thank God that I checked that, right? Because how long could I have sat in that long of elevated CO2 before I could have had something even worse happen? So I hope that you learned something in this video. Maybe you've picked up a few new products to try. I've linked everything down below, so it's really easy. I do make a very small, like peanuts commission if you do buy any of the items listed below at no extra cost to you. Without further ado, please hit the subscribe button, give me a thumbs up, and I hope that you will check some of these items out. Have a great day. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.